Hello and thank you so much for watching my YouTube video. My name is Kimberly. I'm a recovering heroin addict. I've just started out this YouTube channel, so I'm so grateful for your view. God bless you. Please like or leave a comment. It will really go a long way in me being able to monetize this channel. So I wanted to discuss today our parents to blame for our addiction. Can we blame our parents? Let's look at the biological aspect. Addiction is genetic. If you look at families where there's been a lot of alcoholism or drug use, it is most likely that your offspring will develop the same as diabetes, the same as high blood pressure, and the sort. So can we blame them for that? I don't think so, because then we will be able to blame our parents for everything. I'm diabetic because my grandfather was diabetic, so why did you have me? Why did you have me as a child, knowing that I could get this diabetes? I hate you, parent. I hate you, dad. I hate you, mom. Now you're going to pay for all my medical expenses, and I'm going to sit in the house like a bum, and you're going to take care of me because now I have this diabetes. It's insane. If we look at that and we can hold our parents accountable, I mean, we will be suing our parents left, back, and center. I mean, nobody will want to have children because so many diseases are in our genes, and we cannot choose to have children according to whether or not, you get me, it'll open so many doors to ethical arguments, and I just truly believe it is not something you can hold someone accountable for. But where I believe you can hold parents accountable is when we move now to outside factors, environmental factors. When you're a parent and you choose to have a child, you should be able to provide for this child. The child should be able to have food, water, security, shelter, and an education, and a safe place to live. A lot of the time, people have children and they are completely incapable of providing these basic human needs. So what will happen is a child will probably grow in an area, a ghetto, where it's full of congestion, there's no sewage that works, education is zero. They cannot afford to take their child to school, and even if they do, the child is going to school without school bags, without a school book. Other children have things. The child starts developing low self-esteem and feelings of being less than everybody else. So definitely it matters when you're not able to provide for food in the home, when you're not able to provide for just the basic needs. The child would grow with negative feelings. Also, if the household is toxic, if you're in an abusive marriage, there's a lot of domestic abuse happening, if there's verbal abuse, even if especially physical abuse on the child, this child is going to grow with feelings of anxiety, a lot of fear, low self-esteem, insecurity. They will not have a normal, healthy childhood. And these negative feelings, as I told you, will result in maladaptive behaviors. Maladaptive behaviors are behaviors that people adopt that are negative, that serve no purpose, like using drugs and alcohol. So at some point when this child is into their late teens and early 20s, they will seek out ways to feel better, to deal with these negative feelings. So how do they seek these out? They will want to experiment with things, and most of the time they will seek out alcohol or some drugs. And once they use those drugs and alcohol and they feel like it alleviates those negative feelings, even if for a short while, you'll find that behavior will be repeated, and unfortunately will lead to addiction, chronic addiction. So to that extent, we can blame our parents to that extent. But is it going to serve a purpose to blame the parents? Will it serve any purpose? It will not, because nobody has the blueprint and the guidebook to life. Our parents were also trying, they were just trying this thing out. Imagine being born and you coming from a family that has been dealing with poverty for generations, and you're born in that poverty. You know nothing else. You also just want to fall in love like everybody else. You also just want to have a baby like everybody else, not really thinking about the rippling effects or how this child will be affected. You yourself have probably sought out alcohol and drugs to deal with those negative feelings that you were brought up with. So you're probably an active addict, and you are now starting a family as an addict, and not really having the education or the knowledge or the understanding that this will become your child as well. A lot of addicts who I meet and I deal with in the drug dens, in the methadone clinics, come from that same story. They come from low-income families, families that have gone through a lot of abuse. You know, my father beat my mother, or my father was not even present in the family, or my mother even abandoned me. I was an orphan. I grew up in a children's home. I've never known what it is to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I've grown up eating one meal a day. I have never gone for medical checkups or dental, nothing. I don't know. I went to primary school, and after that, my parents could not afford. I live in one of these ghettos, Kawangware or somewhere, you know, congested living. No services. There's no medical. There's not many hospitals. There are not enough churches. The services don't work. So you can imagine such a person. Doesn't know anything else, doesn't know any better. So they will fall in love, as humans do, and they will procreate, and they will have offspring, and it is the same cycle being repeated over and over and over again. So can you really blame that parent? Can you really say that my mother gave birth to me in the ghetto, in poverty, and she was an alcoholic or a drug user, and that is the reason I'm using drugs and alcohol? Can you really blame them? Because they probably didn't know anything better. Let's move into the high-income households. High-income households also suffer the same issues as the low-income households. Yes, maybe not extreme poverty where your offspring cannot go to school or cannot see doctors or be exposed to other cultures and know and learn more. Maybe not to that extreme, but they do suffer financial insecurities. You'll find maybe you were used to living in a 10-bedroom mansion in Karen or something. Your parents lose their job and now you have to downsize and you're living in an apartment in Kilimani. That will still have effects on the child, and that is why counseling is so important when these huge events are going on in families. It's always good to bring in counselors to talk your children through these experiences, to make sure that they understand, to make sure they adapt well, and to make sure that they do not carry those feelings that developed because of this downsizing into their lives later, so that they may develop addiction issues. Also, in these high-income households, the same things could happen. Domestic violence happens everywhere. It doesn't discriminate. Physical abuse happens everywhere. It doesn't discriminate. Verbal abuse. So many things, sexual assault, all of those could be happening here at the high-end households. The same with the downsizing of financial levels, and that could have adverse great effects on the children. That many times people say because somebody has grown up in a wealthy neighborhood or come from families with high incomes that they do not have any problems. When they fall into addiction, it is a choice. They're just bored. They don't know what to do with their money. That is so not true. That is so not true. Also, you'll find maybe the parents are not very stable. Maybe they were brought up in poverty-stricken households and they made it. They were the first to make it in their families. So they still carry a lot of the pain and the trauma that they had growing up there. Or maybe they neglect their children. Most people in high-income households, the parents work very hard, or maybe they've inherited the money, but they want to spend time on themselves and their hobbies and leisure, so they don't have so much time for the children. You'll find the children are being raised by the housekeepers, and it opens Pandora's box, where you might find housekeepers are abusing the children. Most children that I speak to from high-end income households that have entered addiction will tell me that the housekeeper would molest me, the housekeeper sexually assaulted me, or would beat me terribly, or would put me through psychological abuse, or would starve me. My parents would be traveling, would be out of the country for months at a time, and I would be left at the mercy of this person. And it was so hard for me to articulate myself and to tell my parents, because we hadn't developed that trust. We haven't developed that relationship where I feel like I can trust these people, and so it becomes a secret. Also, you can look at a family where the parents are addicted, already. Maybe in high-end families and low income. It doesn't discriminate addiction. So in such situations, the children really grow up developing a sense of secrecy because they want to hide this thing. They don't want anybody to know their parents fall down drunk, or the parents use drugs or are addicted to prescription medication. They don't want. So you'll find the children don't develop well. They don't know how to interact with people. They don't know how to trust other people. They also start taking on the parents' roles, taking care of the house or other younger siblings because the parent is incapable. So can we blame our parents for addiction? it's a yes or no answer, because they're responsible for our upbringing. Whether you are brought up in a low-income household, high-income household, or middle income, once somebody chooses, ideally, when somebody chooses to be a parent, it should be a choice, number one. Some people just have kids they did not plan to have. So it should be a choice in the ideal world. The parent should be prepared to provide for this child all their needs, to raise this child in a safe environment, and to be there for the child, to listen to the child, to speak to the child, and to impact on the child's skills that they will use later in life to withstand life's stresses, life's traumas. But we do not live in an ideal world. So a lot of the parents who I meet with children who are addicts will always say they tried their best, they did their best, And also in this fast-moving world, and with technology, the way our parents grew up and the way we are growing up is so different. We are exposed to so many dangers, the internet, the what, and sometimes parents are unable to keep up. Your child will be depressed because they are being bullied online by their other students, and you have no idea because you don't understand this YouTube, you don't understand this Facebook. So they do have a lot of challenges. Most do tell me they're trying their best, because most parents I know love their children, and will do anything for their children. And when their children are exposed to harms, it is not by their will, and they would wish for that not to happen. But I will understand. I will have to say that there are some parents who should not be parents. There are some people I meet, especially in the drug dens, women and men alike, who I really wonder sometimes, and I sit down with God and I pray and I talk to him and I ask him, why did you give that person a child? They beat that child, they abuse that child, they give that child heroin to smoke, cigarettes to smoke, bangi, it's like they hate their children. So when I look at that, I really believe that yes, in such a situation, yes, you should blame your parent, because they are absolutely incapable of raising this child, and they are damaging this child by will, so they should be held accountable. But for parents who are not willingly choosing to harm and damage their children, I believe we cannot hold them accountable. I believe we should just accept that they've done their best. And also for us addicts, we should not be looking at who to hold accountable, who to blame for our addiction. Who can we point the finger to? No. For us addicts, we just have to accept that we're in this situation, that we have this disease, and how now can we move forward? How now can we heal? How now can we seek treatment? Blame game means nothing. That will just be a waste of your energy. It will just be taking yourself to dark areas, and it will just cause you more pain, and nothing will come from that. Even if you do blame this parent, and this parent does say, yes, it's my fault, what next? You will enter a place where now you become lazy, where you not want to do any work, where now you want to say, you accepted that it was your fault, now you take care of me. No. And for us addicts, it's so quick for us to become codependent. We always want to be taken care of. We always want to be the victim. We always want somebody to feel sorry for us. But no, if you're serious about changing, if you're serious about taking charge of your life, because it is your life now, you are brought onto this earth, it is your life. It is your life. You have now the choice and the power to direct that life in which way it should go. So choose to change, choose to work on yourself, and choose to take responsibility for your addiction. Take responsibility. Do not blame, do not throw responsibility around. It is on you. God has given you this challenge, and you can achieve, you can maintain sobriety. Have a good day. Thank you for watching. God bless you.